Spider-Man No Way Home is set to reintroduce some of the most iconic villains from the history of live-action Spider-Man projects, spanning from 3 separate iterations across almost 2 decades of content. But while many fans are ecstatic to see the return of the likes of the Green Goblin, Dr. Otto Octavius, and many others, some are concerned regarding their character arcs and developments in previous films. In response, a popular fan theory has surfaced online regarding the possibility of these villains actually being variants from different timelines that are not exact copies of the Ramiverse or the Amazing Spider-Man timeline. Though we ourselves do in fact believe that they are the same interpretations and are not in fact variants, the theory is popular enough that we decided it warranted coverage on the channel. Therefore, we've elected to still present it to you anyway and allow you to come to your own conclusion. After all, this is one of many ideas from avid fans, and we thought that not covering it simply because we did not agree would be a disservice to you as the loyal fanbase. So stick with us, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, as we take a look at the possibility that these are not in fact the same versions of the characters we are expecting, and the ramifications that it would have on No Way Home and the future of the MCU as a whole. For this video, we will be using the term variant rather loosely, and it will be used to refer to an iteration that is not the one that we are used to. Technically in the MCU, anyone from an outside timeline is considered to be a variant. But if, for example, we are referring to a variant of Doc Ock, we are referring to an iteration that did not experience the events of Spider-Man 2 in the exact same way the Doc Ock we know did. The theory itself proposes that these characters are not actually the villains that lived through the events of their respective films, but are in fact variants that came about because their timelines were branched by Nexus event at some point during their original appearances. It has been confirmed in Loki that Nexus events are caused by events or decisions made by characters, much like we see in the What If series. So in a sense, this reality could act very similarly to a What If episode about the older Spider-Man films, pondering questions such as what if Green Goblin had killed Spider-Man, and then that reality becomes a split timeline from where the new Goblin emerges victorious. The theory goes on to explain that there now exists a reality in which the Goblin continues to reign supreme chaos over his world, and it is in fact the Green Goblin that we will be seeing in the movie. The closest example we see of this in the MCU is Loki, who experienced the same events and interactions as his previous iteration until 2012, where he split away from his original mainline timeline. This could mean that the villains who have died, such as Doc Ock and Green Goblin, are in fact still dead in their universes, and these are the variants who either survived or, according to some of the most popular variations of this theory, may have even killed the Spider-Man of their universes. One of the possible outcomes of this theory, should it be true, is that the Spider-Man of these branching universes are actually dead, and the Nexus events that split these timelines from the timelines of the Ramiverse and the Amazing Spider-Man universe occurred near the end of the movies. Let's take the first Raimi film as an example. If the events of the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man film take place the same way we know them in 2 separate timelines until splitting in the end of the film, then the Green Goblin may have actually killed the Spider-Man of his universe in that final warehouse fight. Then if we are introduced to the Tobey Maguire iteration from the Raimi trilogy, then his story would pick up where we left him off in 2007. But the Green Goblin, if he faces, is actually a variant that won the warehouse fight and killed the Peter Parker of his universe, thus splitting his timeline and creating a new reality. This would entail several incredibly complex ramifications, seeing as Spider-Man's death at the beginning of the Raimi trilogy would send this reality into utter madness, as the Green Goblin would continue to wreak havoc unopposed. This timeline, if the TVA does not actually alter it, could theoretically exist alongside the Raimi universe, with many of the same characters and events, only to be split by the death of the Spider-Man. If a Nexus event split the timeline of the Raimi trilogy between the first and second movies, then perhaps the events of the first film happened the same way we know, and only split during the second movie. This could entail a reality in which the Doc Ock that we see in the movie killed Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2, and his fusion experiment ravaged the world. This world would again be the same as the Raimi films up until a certain point where a Nexus event branched it away from the ending as we know, where Doc Ock sacrificed himself and stopped his experiment. He would still be under the control of the arms, as has been implied by the No Way Home trailer. and the world at large may have been decimated by his experiment in this timeline. This would allow these characters to have the same experiences with their respective Peter Parkers of their own universes, except the endings of these stories are changed so that they either survive or even win, allowing the characters we know to be dead and their story arcs thus remaining completed. Seeing these characters on screen again while keeping their arcs complete and exploring realities in which they won could be a compelling direction for No Way Home to take this story, and the experiences of the former Spider-Men of the multiverse. It's also possible that the branching realities of these Nexus events is the exact moment right before these characters died, as Alfred Molina has implied that his story as Dr. Otto Octavius will pick up immediately after he sacrifices himself in the river. Therefore, the Nexus events for these characters could actually be the multiverse breaking open, meaning that in Tobey Maguire's mainline Spider-Man universe, for that characters like Green Goblin and Otto Octavius do actually die, but it's the multiverse breaking open that causes this Nexus event for these villains, not actually the given villains killing Peter Parker in their respective universes. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on this theory? Do you think that the villains in No Way Home are actually variants of the villains that we know from the Amazing Spider-Man universe as well as the Raimi films? Or do you think that they are the original villains that we encountered in those films? As always, guys, if you have any other theories you would like to see explored in depth on the channel or other explanations from previous Marvel films, please do not hesitate to leave it in the comment section down below. Hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and have a great day.